Now, I know you're thinking of starting your own YouTube channel, and people will quite happily click on your subscribe button, just like above, and I hope you do. Please subscribe. Now, starting a YouTube channel requires lots of patience, but it requires a video editor, and that's something you can't be without, and you really need a good one. Well, LumaFusion's here to do that, and you need something for your graphics, and that's Affinity Photo or Affinity Designer, and that's something you can't be without. This little example is from the story blocks. It may be worth it, it may not. It depends on your style of YouTube video. So, you're starting a YouTube channel, but let me tell you, there's one thing you really need, and that's a good video editor. Now, as you can see on the screen here, we've got Final Cut Pro, FCP, 10.6.6. This is the latest version. And as you've probably discovered, Final Cut Pro runs on the Mac and now on the iPad. But it's also very expensive. But the iPad version is an annual subscription, or a monthly subscription, which isn't too bad because it's not terribly expensive. But Final Cut Pro itself is, and it's very powerful. So you need something like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the one on the left of this screen, in-camera transitions, but they're using LumaFusion. Now, LumaFusion is very good, and it's 1/10 of the price of Final Cut Pro, and it's the equivalent of Final Cut Pro. It's run on the iPad for years, and it now runs on the Silicon Macs. It never used to be on the Mac, but now it does. And it runs on Windows, I'm told, and Chrome OS, but I suspect also on silicon-based platforms. So if you're using or planning on using YouTube to begin your work to make a living, which you can if you're very good, and it takes a lot of patience, it takes years in fact. It is not by any stretch of the imagination a get-rich-quick scheme. If anything, it's a get-rich-slow scheme. Now, let's go into this a little bit further. For the start, we'll have a look at how much it costs. How much does LumaFusion cost? Well, let's have a look. Well, break the bank, $29.99. And that's a one-off price. It does have a couple of in-app purchases. Now, story blocks, if you want them, they're royalty-free stock video and a few things like that. And you can live quite comfortably without those because they're $10 a month, $9.99 or 70 quid a year, $70 a year. But you don't really need that. And there's another in-app purchase that's available, and that's multi-camera plugin, where you can merge the shots from 3 or 4 cameras into your one video. Now, if you get into some serious video work with multiple people in front of your camera, that's probably something you're going to need. But again, it's like $14. But there's your price, $29.99. Now, you couldn't get cheaper than that. Let's have a look at what we can do with LumaFusion. And while we're at it, let's have a look at what we can do with Affinity Photo and perhaps Affinity Designer. I don't think we'll be needing Affinity Publisher at the moment, but let's have a look. Here's Affinity Photo open, and there's an untitled document. Now, what is that document? Let me reduce that a little bit and we'll have a look. I think you'll find that's just a document that I set up that's 9.3 inches by 8.1 inches. That's a wraparound sublimation blank, okay? We're not doing sublimation. Now that's fairly straightforward. You can see what that is. That's a mock-up. You can make your own mock-ups. And there's various other images, but the important ones that you'll use a lot of are your YouTube thumbnails. Now, you can get these made in Canva and you can subscribe to that, or you can buy Affinity Photo, make some masters, and do your own YouTube thumbnails. There we go. Now that's one I've done for Publisher. There's one I've done for some Affinity designer work. And there's another one I've done for, guess what? Affinity Photo. Now, if you've been across my channel, you've probably seen those. Very useful indeed. Now, there's Affinity Designer coming up, all on the same iPad. Now, you can do these on the desktop or the iPad. Look at that. Vector graphics, too nice. There's a lovely little boot. You can do all that sort of stuff. Now, you will need that. Affinity Publisher, the third one, we may as well have a look at that. And there's a book I'm working on. There's a cover page for the calorie counted recipe book that I'm working on. Very nice. Now, if you're going to be a YouTuber, and it doesn't matter if you're doing garden work or you're doing craft work or you're doing anything that you're making YouTube videos about, motorbikes, going into space, anything, you're going to have images, photos and videos. Now we're looking here at LumaFusion. I've got it open with the actual video that I'm creating for this little YouTube video. And you can see there I'm going through the export options. Base settings, you can export from LumaFusion directly to YouTube. Of course you need a YouTube account, but that's okay, you can set that up. Do that first. Make sure you've got a good YouTube account with the right name, your channel name, and go through all that process and then come back to LumaFusion, because when you first set it up you can log in directly to YouTube and send your videos there without having to save them anywhere, do anything with them. You create them, send them, go to YouTube Studio, and having created your thumbnail in Affinity, load your thumbnail. Now here we are, we have Affinity Photo on the iPad loaded, and I'm creating the thumbnail, the YouTube thumbnail for this particular video. That's how you can combine the whole lot. Now here's the layers panel, and it has the various layers in it. Let me select that over there, and you can see the little dots appear around the objects that I'm working on. There's the text there, there's that one up there, there's my logo there, and of course when you've got all that, you then export it as a PNG. Well, in this case it's a JPG. Let's make it a PNG, and we'll share it directly to my Apple Photos, which sits on the iPad. I'll just cancel that because I don't want to save it anywhere else. And we go there and go back to all the photos, and there it is there. So I can load that when I upload the other video. When I upload the video directly to YouTube and it wants a particular thumbnail, then I just send it that one.